Welcome to Cinema in Context, where we discuss all things film and the connections between. My name is Jeremy Downing.
I'm William Chen.
And this month we are joined by Sinead Fitzgerald. Welcome back, Sinead.
Hello.
And our special guest, Adam Spedding. Welcome, Adam.
Hello.
Adam is a writer, director, a tap dancer, and a film watcher, I guess.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast, Adam. Each month at Cinema in Context, we discuss two films, one current and one retrospective, with some connection. It could be the same director, the same actor, or a similar theme. This month, we are discussing the first X-Men film, which came out in 2000, and apparently the final X-Men film of the Fox X-Men universe,
Aww.
Dark Phoenix, or X-Men Dark Phoenix, depending on which country you live in. So let's start off with an explanation of Dark Phoenix, which might be a little bit backwards, but I'm keen to hear what you've come up with, William, so I'll give it over to you.
All right, so guys. I recently watched a rare female-led Marvel movie set in the 90s, where the protagonist gains cosmic superpowers after an aerial mission goes terribly wrong. Although a member of a paramilitary peacekeeping unit, she turns her back on her teammates after being accosted by a mysterious race of shape-shifting, face-changing aliens who believe that the power within her is the key to saving their vagrant people. In the end, our protagonist learns that it is truly her emotions that are keeping her in check, and to become truly super, she needs to own those emotions rather than compartmentalize. And she saves the day with fiery spectacle through the skies. She even gets to beat up the aliens on a speeding train, which is pretty cool. Big set piece there. But enough about Captain Marvel, ladies and gents. Yes, Dark Phoenix. Also, a lot of parallels with another movie that came out this year.
Oh, which is interesting, which is why they re-edited and reshot the ending.
The whole ending.
But not because of Captain Marvel, because of Civil War, I think.
Well, that's what he said, but apparently the villain in this film is... So they were supposed to be Skrulls, right?
Oh,
that was
right.
the setup for it. But then Captain Marvel happened, and they were like, we
Can't
better
be a
change
Skrull.
that. And so that's why they're so rubbish.
Oh.
That's why Jessica Chastain had no idea what she was.
Cool, so the other film is X-Men. So X-Men came out in 2000, and it really is the beginning of the superhero genre in terms of, I guess, I don't want to say being taken seriously, because you have, you did have the Tim Burton films of the Tim Burton Batman films of the 80s and 90s, and you had the Superman films of the
And was
70s.
Blade also before?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. But I guess in terms of like the modern day superhero genre that we think of now, X-Men really was the start of that. It was the first time that we had really seen kind of real people in these films. It really follows three key characters. So you have Magneto, who is on a mission to... He's got this brotherhood, and he's on a mission to turn everybody into mutants. You've got Rogue, who is a young girl who can't touch anybody because she saps the energy, trying to find a place in the world. And you've got Wolverine, who is a memory-lost, immediately healing warrior who is sort of just a vagrant who travels around. And that sort of sets the stage for introducing the X-Men world. And, 12 films later, we are now at Dark Phoenix, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
For worse.
For worse. Well, let's jump in. Just to come back to that point, because I really like Jessica Chastain in the film, but it's maybe just because I really like Jessica Chastain, and she was a cool villain for me. Just her presence on the screen, every time she was there, I was like, this is the coolest parts of this movie. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's just because you like Jessica Chastain. She's great. She's a great actress. But I've read interviews where she literally didn't know who she was, like what she was doing. And I don't think that's a great place to start anything.
It was fun seeing her though at the start when she was like hosting the dinner party. I was like, this is interesting. Like, where's this going? And then she dies.
I thought I was watching it and I was like, okay, so now we've got tree people. Oh, these are not tree people. What are these? Okay, cool. I guess I can buy into this.
I think they tried to explain it in one line, just saying they're from another planet.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Yeah,
It's like
that's all they
okay,
need.
cool.
And wasn't she actually supposed to be a different character, but then they changed it to Vux or Vuck or whatever it was, that was something else, in post? And also the Phoenix was all changed in post. Like, it was supposed to be fiery, but it was more cosmic.
Everything at the end, it just felt, you could feel the post-editing. There's a lot of ADR lines as well at the very end. where, Jean Grey has a voiceover and, the Phoenix will rise again. All the stuff felt very, very strangely taped together. I also think it's really interesting with this movie and with a couple of others. Men in Black was another one, and Godzilla, how these are all recent summer tentpole movies that haven't done so well. And then you see immediately, people talking to Deadline and to these big internet media sites about, this is what happened behind the scenes. And I think people are really interested in hearing about how these big Hollywood properties kind of collapse in on themselves.
It's kind of a marketing ploy, I guess, by this point, right?
Yeah.
I suppose, but there was barely any marketing in comparison to a big film for Dark Phoenix. Like usually an X-Men film is pretty big. Even Apocalypse, which wasn't that well received, it still did really well at the box office.
Yeah.
And
I mean, haven't seen that
still
one.
a bad film.
Yeah, I mean it's not as bad as some of the X-Men films.
Yeah, but like when I was watching Dark Phoenix, all through Jean Grey Goes Home, all I was seeing was X3. And I was like, I know where this bit goes. Oh, okay. Charles Xavier isn't going to die. It's Raven. Great. I don't care. Didn't care at all. At least in X3, I cared when Patrick Stewart started dissipating. Like, I cared.
That death was so obvious as well.
Yeah.
Like it was like she's
Ravens.
talking about talking about what they're going to do.
But it was also badly done.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't... My biggest beef with the film, or my two biggest beefs, is one, I was bored like the entire thing.
Yeah.
The other thing, I didn't care about anyone or anything. Like, I loved Jennifer Lawrence, but by the time we got to her dying, I was like, okay.
It's probably worth saying there's spoilers all through this
sorry.
podcast. So, sorry guys if you didn't know that, my bad. But
If you had seen the trailer to Dark Phoenix, you would have known.
this is true. This is true.
They also openly said that in the marketing, right?
Yeah.
They said, Raven's gonna die, which seems like a very bad call to me.
Well, let's talk about death, or how we get to death, which is usually by aging, which is my biggest issue with the film, which is like... So apparently in like 5 years, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are supposed to turn into Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, so they're going to age like 30, 40 years. They have looked the same since the 1960s. Like, they have not changed. Like, this is 1992, right? Like, just the pure logic of people aging makes no sense. Like, even the Mystique character, like she, in the First Class film, she turns into an older version of herself, which is Rebecca Roman. Is it Stamos?
Stamos.
Stamos, of course.
Wait, she married John Stamos?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
What?
Stamos!
Oh, okay.
Big fan of it.
But yeah, so they just do not age. Like, there's only one character in the X-Men universe that shouldn't age, right? Which is Wolverine. Like, you can't just magically have everybody not age.
Also,
So watching the first one, you're like, man, he's young.
Yeah, this is true.
And then when you see him in First Class, and he just looks so old comparative to James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, you're like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
This is just not how it's supposed to be.
Well, I guess it's a good segue then to talk about the first film, because that was his first American film, and man, he's cool. I just love him in that movie. He just claims that character, and I don't know. Do you guys remember when that film came out? And it was like, it wasn't hugely well received. Like, it was okay. And even as a kid, I was like, I'm enjoying this, but like I've grown to love it more over time.
I remember everyone being really excited about it, at least my circle of friends. I was in the States visiting family friends, and around people around my age, like 13, 14. We were like, guys, we got to see the X-Men movie. There's an X-Men movie coming out. And I think it was a really big thing because kids in the 90s had grew up with X-Men. The old Fox cartoon with the awesome theme song. I remember back in junior school how everyone had Wolverine action figures. Like, it was a known property, as big as, say, Batman or Superman. And I think for a jumping off point for this kind of superhero world that we're living in, it's not a bad one because there's so many characters and it's really relatable in a way, especially the first couple of films. Like, there are very, very heavy parallels with a coming of age story, which I think is awesome.
And coming out stories.
Yeah,
particularly
yeah.
that second one. The second one where they like literally have the coming out scene of being a mutant with the parents and like, have you tried not being a mutant? And it's,
Like Angel.
yeah, and
Tears
the
off all of
third
his
one.
feathers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Where they take some of that stuff is really, really interesting. And what I will say about Dark Phoenix is that, I totally hear you guys in terms of not caring about anybody and generally being bored. But the kind of, it was trying to do something with sort of a mental health breakdown and also the ego of institutions being at the expense of the well-being of its people. And I felt that the film did pitch that really clearly with like an opening relationship of, Charles Xavier and Jean Grey, and then that's the relationship at the end that kind of pulls it together. But just the actual ride was, like that scene outside of the building where they fight through the street and the cars, like they're so stupid. I was like, what are you guys doing? You're just endangering all these people. Like, you've got a nice, perfectly good park that you can have your little fight over there.
Yeah, they're like, no, I want to have it right here in front of traffic.
Yeah.
And then Magneto, when he puts his hands out, I was like, oh, okay, he's going to bring up the pipes and he's going to rap. No, he brings up a freaking subway car. Why?
The turnaround of that scene of like, don't do it, okay. Don't kill her, alright.
Oh, and then
I like her now.
But even like logistically of that train going into the building, tell me what the purpose of that was. Like,
it was a cool shot.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
But was he thinking to like block the door?
Yeah.
But really he just provided a nice little tunnel into the building?
It was just a cool shot, man.
But it wasn't.
Can I just say, what's up with the guy whose superpower is his hair? Because I couldn't stand that. That's just not hygienic at all.
I thought for the longest time that was Adam Beach, but it wasn't. It was another dude. No, he's an actor from Native American actor.
Oh, cool.
Also, they have Nightcrawler who can just teleport anywhere. That scene.
And the
scene
space
is so dumb.
And the space logic.
Yeah.
Like Jean Grey can breathe in space and
Space.
isn't hurt by the freezing temperatures.
Yeah. Did we just forget about what happens in space?
Yeah.
I really like that space sequence. I thought the movie opened pretty strong. And with like the world building, with the X-Men now actually being superheroes, and Xavier has that direct line to the president. That stuff was really fun. I just wish we had, a
But
little
also,
more of that.
What a waste of the president. I love the actor who plays the president, and surely he shot more than just the like 2 lines that he had in the film.
Yeah, maybe they just added that bit where he's like, President? Oh, I can't talk to him anymore. Just explain why he's gone from the picture. Back to X-Men, I guess one of my bigger disappointments of the entire series is that it never really pays off the Rogue and Wolverine kind of mentor relationship, whatever it is, like father-daughter relationship. They never, Rogue kind of just disappears from the films, and I felt like it was such a well set up point in the first movie. They never did Rogue justice.
No. Well,
I mean, in part 3, she literally disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah, she give her powers, gets her powers taken away so she can touch her boyfriend.
Yeah, who's not interested in her anymore.
Yep.
And then she's in Days of Future Past.
In the Rogue Cut,
which is not very good. She's got her powers back. Yeah. I do love that they retconned they just like retconned all of Last Stand choices, right? They're just like it's just ignore, and then it wasn't even through time travel. Like it had already happened with Wolverine because Xavier's back, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll take it because Last Stand was horrible.
Their justification was that Days of Future Past reset everything, right?
Mm-hmm. But then it still makes no sense.
No, but that's their justification because it's the same writer, Dark Phoenix and X3, both Simon Kinberg.
He's done heaps of them though, right? He did.
He came in on 3,
right,
and then he's been pretty consistent throughout all of them.
He didn't do First Class.
He didn't do First Class, which is by far my favourite.
Same.
But after Future Past, he was just like, I want to do this one again. Didn't quite get it right the first time.
Actually, quite
or the second.
Controversial. I think one of my favourite of the X-Men series is Wolverine Origins.
No, why?
Yeah.
Okay, justify.
I just
need
love
evidence.
his journey. Like, for some reason, I had back when iPod Touch. No, iPod. I don't remember.
Nano.
No, it's like the bigger one.
Touch.
Yeah. That's it.
It was like an iPhone without the...
Yeah, it was like an iPhone without phone capabilities. Yeah. And I had 2 films downloaded onto it. 3 films. Sweeney Todd, X-Men First Class, and Wolverine Origins. And I watched them so much. I just loved Wolverine. I don't know. I just liked his journey. I liked seeing him develop how he got his adamantium, his revenge story, all the people that were there. I mean, I could do without the Ryan Reynolds butchering that whole thing.
Literally butchered.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's just something about it. Maybe it's because I watched it a lot more.
I do think back to that film, and I think fondly on certain images. Like, there's some nice images in that, but whenever I watch it,
Like Will.i.am being the teleporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dominic Monaghan. There's so many mutants in that film.
Yeah, Emma Frost's in that movie.
Yeah.
There's that guy who throws guns. And I remember, I don't know why, I remember this one shot in that movie where the guy throws a CGI gun and kind of floats in the air and just looked really, really weird.
Oh, right. I mean, Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson, or whatever it is, before he's pretty cool. He's like the wisecracking dude in the lift, and he's got samurai swords and stuff. And then he's not good.
I will say this. I think the Wolverine movies after Origins are... I think they're some of the best X-Men movies.
I agree, yeah.
I don't even think I've seen the Wolverine.
Oh, it's really cool.
It's awesome.
And the extended version is better because they give more character to the Japanese characters, and they also have more violence and more swearing, which is great. Which it kind of needs that, because it's like a Japanese samurai film, right?
Logan was great, though.
Logan's the
Love
best X-Men film, right?
But even, the Wolverine, like, I dismissed it because X-Men Origins I don't like a lot. And I saw it on HBO ages after, and was like, holy cow, this movie is awesome. And it has the serious Wolverine stuff, it has the goofy superhero stuff where he fights the Silver Samurai, there's this big giant Japanese, mech. But it feels true to the character in a way I think a lot of the X-Men sequels do not. And of course, like Logan is the perfect Kappa that Dark Phoenix isn't, right? It's so different from everything else, but it so ties into all of what makes the best X-Men movies work, and gives payoff to Xavier, and gives payoff to Logan, and to the whole idea of mutants and this whole struggle that they've had. Oh man, what a great movie, guys! What a great movie.
Probably what X-Men films struggle with so much is finding the right tone.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Logan worked, is because it just commits to what it is, like what it feels like it should be. And for me, so often they just feel like they're trying to be... it's an inherently silly thing, and so it feels like they're trying so hard to be like real serious about it.
I
And
know what you're saying. There's still people in suits flying around and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think, like, if you think of, like, if Apocalypse had been a better film, I actually still really enjoyed Apocalypse. I just thought the last part was just all a little bit silly. But if Days of Future Past for me was a really good send-off for the old cast, Apocalypse could have been a good send-off for the new cast, and then Logan is such a like you said, such a good cap on the series. Yeah, and Dark Phoenix just sort of opens the box again.
Well, it's just like, you've got a film with a lot of Oscar winners and Oscar nominated actors and actresses, and their performances are crap.
Yeah.
And it's not because of their acting, because obviously they've got awards and we've seen them in previous movies to know that they have the chops. It's the direction and the writing. It just, like, I've never cared as much as I have. No, as little as I have. What am I trying to say? I didn't care. That's what I'm trying to say.
Watching the difference between Dark Phoenix and First Class, you're like, you watch First Class and you're like, Michael Fassbender's great.
Yeah.
Like, such a good actor. Watching Dark Phoenix, I'm like, what are you doing? You're a good actor. What are you doing?
He had some nice moments, like when Raven died and he heard about it. I was like, okay, this is a nice moment. But like everything else, I was like, this is crap. Where are
It just
you?
looked like they had been given really bad dialogue and no help to make it any better for them.
There's that scene where he and Jean Grey are having like a handoff. They're trying to use their hand powers to stop a helicopter from crashing or to make a helicopter crash. And it was the most ridiculous sequence. It reminded me a lot of... have you guys seen Fate of the Furious? The 8th Fast and Furious? In that scene, in that movie, there's a scene where Charlize Theron and Nathalie Emmanuel have a hack off, and they're just like typing at keyboards, and it's the same except with hands, with hand gestures.
I talk about First Class. I didn't love First Class. Like, I love parts of it. Like, I do love all of the revenge storyline, and I love the Cuban Missile Crisis connection. But some of those like one of my most hated scenes in the X-Men franchise is when the kids are all sitting around in the army base and Jennifer Lawrence is like, "You're Magneto, and you're Professor X, and I'm like, no. It's like the Solo thing, right? Like, what's your last name? Oh, I'll write down Solo.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
I'll give you that. But in general, the dialogue of that film is so much better.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, who's brilliant in that movie, who doesn't, I forgot she was even in it until I saw a clip the other day, is Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne, she plays Moira McTavish.
Yeah.
She's such a cool, like, where does she go? She just disappears.
She comes back in Apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, he erases her memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He's
she's like one of the agents.
But does she just have her memory back?
No, she doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
because they've got that whole love line between her and Charles, and then he's like,
Yeah, where did
I
that
can't
go?
be with you because I'm a mutant and I'm going to erase your memory.
Oh, it's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can make it work. Like,
Yeah.
far out. Oh, yeah. What about X2? X2 is the big sequel. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it in ages, but I remember when that movie came out, it was like an event of a film, and it ended with the Dark Phoenix suggestion,
Yeah.
right, with her under the water, and which was pretty cool.
Because X2, I feel like to a lot of people online and people I talk to, X2 and Spider-Man 2 seem to be the platonic ideals for superhero movies. How to do a sequel right, and how to really develop and grow things, threads and characters that you've introduced in a pretty good but kind of shaky first outing. And I saw X2 I think a year back, 2 years back, and I think it really holds up. It really does. It's solid. The action's really cool. And there's some real iconic sequences like Magneto's cool plastic jail and the breakout from that, and too much iron in your blood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
That's how he escapes. She injects him with a syringe full of iron, and then he's like, oh, and then he pulls out the little balls, and then he goes, bah! I haven't seen this in like 6 years.
That's going to be great for audio.
She injects the security guard, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, the club. But I love the opening. I'll never forget sitting in the cinema and watching that opening sequence with Nightcrawler
And Diaz Irae and
the Oval Office. Like, that was like, bleh, like my brain, little whatever 15-year-old brain or 40-year-old brain was exploding with joy. And I think just the hint of like really like ending that film with the hint that Jean Grey was flaming up, and then there's like a shot of like a camera going over the water. Do you know what I'm talking about? And
No,
there's,
I can't remember
The
that
last
bit.
shot of the film is a camera going over the water of the dam where she's been killed, and you see either underwater or reflected on the surface the Phoenix, and I was like, oh, the Phoenix is coming, and then she came and it was really bad.
Yeah. I think, this is going to sound real nitpicky, but the thing that I was missing from Dark Phoenix was the love triangle between Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean Grey. Like, where was my love tension? There was no Wolverine.
Yeah.
It just ruined it for me, honestly.
What do you think about that in the first film?
I mean, with the timeline now, it's going to be super creepy.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Because Hugh Jackman's aged. And the others have got new actors.
Yeah. I mean, that love triangle for me, it's okay. I mean, I think James Masters does a great job.
Oh,
Marsden?
Yeah.
Who's Masters? He's a Buffy.
From Buffy.
I brought Buffy into it somehow.
Plus, he was Piccolo in that Dragon Ball movie.
Oh gosh. But James Marsden, he does a good job of making Cyclops relatively likable because he could be such a douche.
Yeah, the chemistry between the three of them is really good in the first one. The big fight scene with I'm the real one, you're the real one.
Yeah.
It's like you're a dick. And
really
good stuff.
I don't know, you're real. You're a dick. Okay.
And I quite like seeing Halle Berry in a role where she was like before she was Halle Berry or Catwoman. Yeah,
that happened.
And Ray Park, post Darth Maul, his big acting role with his face revealed and everything.
That was the most ridiculous character. Him and Sabretooth are so ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
There's some awkward moments in there.
I don't like. The thing that I didn't like rewatching the half of X1 that I watched was seeing Jean Grey be so useless.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this woman is so powerful, yet she can't even get toad goo off her face. Like, what?
That's like Rogue. Like, I'm pretty sure Rogue saps Captain Marvel's powers in the comics, right? So she can fly and she can go through walls and stuff.
Yeah.
She's really strong. And they never do anything with her. She's just...
There.
She just touches people and sucks
It
their
has a little
energy.
bit of teen angst, that's it.
Yeah. So, Adam, had you seen X-Men before?
Yeah, I've seen. I want to say all of them, but that's probably incorrect. I've seen probably 90% of them, but I just forget them. Like, I couldn't tell you what Apocalypse was about. I saw it, but I didn't particularly enjoy it, so it just gone from my memory.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I do remember the opening sequence of Apocalypse with the whole Egyptian theme. Like, that was really cool. I was like, wow, this movie's going to be great.
No, I don't remember
3
that.
hours later. The scene with the nukes and Handel, that was quite nice.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Oh, okay. It's when Apocalypse, he, in order to stop mutually assured destruction, he launches all the nukes in the world into space.
Oh,
No?
wow.
No.
No.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, I
I
don't even remember.
remember that.
I've only just remembered who the villain was.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, no, still don't remember
Poor
that.
guy with all the prosthetics and everything.
I remember when I was younger, I really wanted to go to San Francisco so I could see the San Francisco Bridge where Magneto moves it.
To see if it was moved.
Yeah. In X3. That was great.
X3 suffers from too many X-Men. Like, just too many X-Men, you just kill your movie, eh? Like, it's just because they just come in and they do a little magic trick and then they off they go.
I did love Kitty in it, though.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And who doesn't love Kelsey Grammer?
Oh, right.
Oh, it's Beast. Yeah.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Oh my god,
Vinnie
I
Jones?
remember the
Yeah.
Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, just a wee bit. But it's nice that he resurfaces in Deadpool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, let's talk about Deadpool, right? So Deadpool, I tell you what, I saw Deadpool for the first time and the only time I haven't gone back and watched it, not because I didn't love it, but I was on an Emirates flight, and I'm watching the title sequence where he's giving someone a wedgie and the little butt cracks blurred out, and I'm like, huh, okay. And then I realised, because Emirates heavily edit their films for any sexual content, and so all of the sex scenes were cut out. And of course, there's a huge development of character through a montage of sex scenes. And I'm like, what's going on? I missed something here. Like, his girlfriend suddenly got like really long hair, and they're getting married. And I'm like, huh? And of course, Deadpool's quite sexual, so it's just like, so that was a shortcut.
Emirates, why you shortcut us?
Yeah, great food though, and metal cutlery. Just saying.
Oh yeah, I
planes.
can get
What's
behind
all
that.
about?
Yeah. Anyways, Deadpool. What are we thinking?
I love Deadpool. I loved it. So good.
I think they're fun, but I've only watched both of them once.
Yeah. I think they, the two Deadpool movies and Logan show that like a mid-budget superhero movie actually works. I think that's awesome, because there's so much based on much more on character than spectacle, really. And they pull it off. And tone, yes, they have you're absolutely right, a very, very specific tone they're looking for.
Yep.
And they pull it off with aplomb, and the audiences, crave this stuff. I mean, those three movies, the three R-rated, Fox X-Men quote-unquote movies, they've made so much more money than the big budget, tentpole ones.
Yeah, and I think like we're talking about tone and kind of that sort of thing. What I get sick of, and I've talked about this before, is that the piecing together of films. Like, it's so refreshing when I see a movie and a scene just is allowed to play out, and like there's an arc, and there's not that I need long shots, but I was like, you can tell that they've actually. There's actually something going on in the actual real space.
It's been rehearsed and directed, and
yeah. Rather than
not just we'll put this together in post.
Yeah, and just the refilming and the recutting
We'll
and
make it work.
and I think I think about the Hobbit movies, and they're just horrible for that. Like, and there's like shots where you're like, that's so clearly been filmed 2 years later.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the reshoots in Dark Phoenix they're crazy how obvious it is. Sophie Turner looks noticeably more gaunt. Did you guys see this?
Oh no.
Like in the original footage, I guess, her face was much rounder, and she has a much narrower face in the reshoots.
Oh wow.
It's like,
Interesting.
holy cow! They didn't even try, or maybe they did. They just didn't, fix that.
Wow, that's quite specific the way. And
Yeah.
imagine, I suppose people go through changes and how do you keep that?
Or you use CGI, just like with Henry Cavill and his mustache.
Or like Xavier, Professor X in that Wolverine movie at the end, when it's just like he walks in like a mannequin. I'm like, what have you? Or the start of X-Men Last Stand, X-Men 3. You know, when Xavier and Magneto are really young. But they're not. They're like this weird, like...
It was that de-aging tech before they had perfected it. And they just look like mannequins. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, gosh.
But then, like, Disney have really, you know, doubled down on that stuff. Like in Guardians 2 and Ant-Man 2, how you have young Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's noticeably perfect.
Like young Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, and Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that was stupidly good.
Yeah.
Was it? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Captain Marvel.
It looks...
good.
I mean, with like Michelle Pfeiffer and Sam Jackson and them, like, we know what they look like when they were, you know, 30 years younger. And they look, I mean, photoreal. It's astounding.
What do they do? Do they do a mocap performance and then do they CGI them?
I don't actually know. I know they perform it, like he did everything. I'm assuming you're probably right. They probably just put dots all over him and then just adjust his face.
So I guess to think about like X-Men as that opening of this genre that I think there's just so much fatigue around this genre. You know, how much have things changed over the last 19 years, 20 years? How much have the X-Men films changed along with it? And how much does Dark Phoenix suck? No.
A lot.
The thing with 1, 2, and 3, right? They were before Marvel started, right? So by the time 2008 comes and Iron Man comes out and they start building towards what has become massive, they kind of took the crown, right? They kind of shifted the tone of what this genre should be. And I think that's probably where X-Men's struggled for quite some time, is that it's still trying to be something from 20 years ago. Yeah.
I was just always disappointed as a kid when Iron Man and the first Avengers came out and they never included the X-Men in it, because I grew up reading the comics and there were so many comics where the Avengers and X-Men were one, and it was just like, why can't we just have Cloud9 in here? Or
which we'll get in the next 5 years.
Yeah, for sure.
know.
But
It's interesting, because they sold off their biggest tentpole Marvel franchises, right?
Yeah.
So Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, they didn't own, and then they were able to
'Cause-
make Marvel Studios with like C-grade.
The C-listers, yeah.
Yeah.
Marvel was struggling, so they sold all the rights to their biggest things, and then they went, "Oh, we're doing all right now. We're going to make some movies."
That's amazing,
What can we
that
do?
that they were struggling, It's like that they, I guess, because comic books were changing, and now they're like the biggest, probably the biggest studio out there, like even bigger than Pixar.
Bigger than Star Wars, I would say.
Yeah, because they're making so many movies. Like, how many movies have they
All
made?
of them are making
Stupid money.
hundreds of millions to billions of dollars.
And they're generally really good.
Yeah. Audiences love them.
Yeah.
There's a real footprint, like, you know, from the very young to the very old. Everyone knows a Marvel movie.
So I think it's time. It feels like, I guess what you're saying, like it's old, Like it's just old, and they're trying to make it work, and it's not working. It was working. It has peaks and troughs, right?
Yeah, and like we were saying before, like the experiment or the more experimental stuff, like the Deadpool movies and Logan. I think, you know, audiences gravitate to that stuff that's different and fresh.
Well, I feel like, for me, Dave, even though I think Logan is the best X-Men film, Days of Future Past for me is my favourite one, because, I mean, I love time travel anyway. And it was just the ending of the original series that Last Stand was so disappointingly not. And they brought those two worlds together, and that's such a cool film.
But it was supposed to be the third one.
It was supposed to be the what?
So
it should have happened as a third one.
X-Men was supposed to set up like a new. First Class was supposed to set up like a new trilogy. And this when Matthew Vaughn and Jane Goldman came on board, and so they wrote and Matthew Vaughn directed First Class, and they wrote the like story outlines for 2 more films. Days of Future Past was supposed to be the third one.
Right.
So essentially, X-Men had its 3 trilogy. First Class gets its trilogy, and the third one is the one that kind of brings it all and wraps it all.
Oh, see, that would have been nice.
Which is what it was supposed to be. And then basically the studio looked at Days of Future Past and went, "Oh, we want to do that one," and Matthew Vaughn was like, "Well, no, you've got to earn it. You've got to do this second one first, and then you get to the third one." And they're like, "No, we want to do this one." So we went, "Okay, I'm out."
Wow, I didn't know that. What was the second one going to be about? Do you know?
I don't know.
Something that would have like solved the like let's jump every 10 years so that none of our characters age and makes no sense.
But it would have felt more worth it to me, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
The payoff would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you earn things, right? Like,
And I suppose because in Days of Future Past, the younger cast, they've sort of like lost hope, eh? Like, and is that I guess it's quite a bit of a jump because they were all generally all good at the end of first class. I mean, sure, Charles had lost the use of his legs, but you live and you learn, and so they.
And the connective tissue is also very strange, but from the end of the Wolverine to
Yes.
Days of Future Past.
Yes. Because they come, so in that post-credit sequence, they come and find Wolverine at an airport.
Yeah.
And it's Magneto and Xavier, and then it's like, we've got something for you to do, and then they don't have something for him to do.
Until like 50 years later.
50 years later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured out why I like Wolverine Origins.
Oh, nice.
It's because I buy into a backstory. I like knowing where people came from and how they got to where they are, and that just it does it for me. It's like Vietnam War, you got all this crap, part of the Striker program. I'm sold.
I gotta say, the X-Men films, for all of their faults and whatever, have some really good opening sequences. Like that opening sequence of Wolverine Origins is fantastic with the different wars and with Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth.
He's so good.
That's so cool. The opening of X-Men 1 is still one of the coolest. Like that whole
which I didn't realize was the
camp.
same opening as First Class.
Yeah,
Until I watched them like back to back. I was like, oh.
Well, you think like that opening, X2 has a great opening. I think X3 they do like the Sentinels. Oh no, there's like multiple. That one's not a great opening. Origins Wolverine has a great opening. There's the Japanese sequence and the Wolverine.
Yeah, with the nuclear bomb.
Yeah, really cool. First Class, it's like Eric like destroying the.
Holy cow! That one edit
yeah.
where you see the doctor's his not lab or his office, and then it shows the other side of the room. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, really, really cool.
So good.
You've got what was Days of Future Past is
The Sentinel
Sentinel attack.
stuff. Yeah,
there's some really cool sequences in here. I don't even Logan. I don't know what that was.
that was him beating up the dudes who try and steal his car.
So when I saw that, I was like, I didn't realize the film was R-rated, and I was sitting there, and then I think he like chopped someone's face off, and I was like, I was so excited. I was like, violence! I need me some blood in my superhero movies. Because, I mean, it's that thing, right? It's like they're usually, like, beating people up, and Wolverine's always putting his claws into people. And I'm like, this is really violent, but you never see any blood. Like, it's like, we can do this and it's fine. Yeah.
Oh, also, to what you were saying, Jeremy, the intro credits are usually also so cool. That music, and usually they do something cool with the logo, and you zoom in. Even Apocalypse, where it shows like the history of mutants.
Yes.
I mean, it was like Jesus was a mutant, and all this really weird stuff that flashes by. But they,
I remember that.
Yeah, so they show all the mutants throughout history, and then you see Jesus on the cross. Like, whoa,
That's great.
It's like the Men in Black thing, where you get like famous people as aliens. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, just on this Origins thing, I think this is probably where you're saying you like where a thing comes from and its backstory.
Yeah.
I think this is where Marvel is going to somewhat struggle going forward because of this fatigue that you're talking about. Things like Captain Marvel was fine, but it was just another origin story, and I understand what it does for the female audience and finally giving them a superhero of their own, but it's just another origin story, and I think they're going to struggle forward. And this was the smart thing that they did with Spider-Man, was that they're like, okay, we've shown this origin story twice in the last 10 years. We don't need to show it. It's done. People get it. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, now that they're killing off the old characters and whatnot, to how they continue to introduce and how they keep people interested.
Yeah, and I'd be really keen for a whole new take on X-Men.
Yeah.
Like just a whole new
For sure.
tone, I guess. Like, right, let's just, and like, you know about that cartoon series? I was so that kid. That cartoon series was so cool. That and the Batman series. It was like those 2 animated series.
Oh
and
my
the Spider-Man.
gosh.
There's a Spider-Man
Yeah.
series at that time as well. And that kind of that space sequence at the start of this film where they are the superheroes and they're going off and doing missions and they're still prejudiced against, but they've still got supporters. That space has never really come into these X-Men films apart from their little part at the start.
Of Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
When they try and really force that relationship of like Sophie Turner going, "Is it safe?" and Jennifer Lawrence going, "Yes, it's safe." She's like, "Well, if you say it's safe, I trust you. Okay, let's go."
I just felt like I had missed out on like a whole key in their relationship. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so they're best friends. Why was she not in the past 3 movies?
Yeah.
Like,
I did
what
appreciate
is
though
this?
that they did make them friends, right? Because so often, particularly the only female characters, I mean, there's Storm, but let's be honest, she has nothing. That they weren't at each other's words, like they
Yeah.
were helping each other out.
I just,
But
yeah.
so gamely.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of the intro of Dark Phoenix, can we talk about what they do with Quicksilver?
They ruined him.
But I don't mind that because I was sick of Quicksilver when they used him and they did the same sequence in
In
Apocalypse that they'd done in
yeah.
Days of Future Past. I'm like, no, I like that they just sped him up and then he was gone because I was like,
Him climbing the things.
Yeah. And he returns at the very end, literally in the last 2 minutes. He has one more line. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's okay. Oh, okay.
He's there.
And that weird bit where he's like, yeah, I totally did everything. I was like, what?
Because it's another drop thing, right? Because Magneto's his dad, and he kind of knows from Apocalypse,
yeah, true.
but he doesn't tell him. And like,
Yeah. I always thought that was really weird, especially coming out at the same time as Avengers 2 when they had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And I was
Yeah.
like, where's the sister? Why is she not in the second, X-Men film? It just seemed like, okay, so we've got the backstory that his Magneto's his father, but that's not in the Avengers, and it kind of felt a little bit contradictory, especially because they're 2 separate actors.
Yeah.
I was just like, can we not get
wonder how
a
they got
little bit
around-
of
They
continuity?
weren't allowed to, they couldn't use the word mutant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't say the word mutant and they couldn't say any of the characters from the other film. So I can't remember what they were referred to in the Avengers films. They were so cool in the Avengers films. I love, what's her face? Olsen, one of the Olsen sisters.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah, she does a good job, I think.
I wish that Marvel X-Men had Scarlet Witch in it. She's such a cool part of the comics, and she should have been in there.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema in Context. If you enjoyed our podcast, then please share it with your film-loving friends. You can listen to Cinema in Context through SoundCloud or Apple Podcast, Stitcher or Radio Public. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, which are great places to let us know what you think of this episode or give us suggestions for future films to discuss and compare. Look out for our next episode in a month's time, and until then, ka kite anō.